As someone who has been studying success for over 13 years, I'm fascinated by why only a small percentage of the world population have the capability to design the exact life and lifestyle that they truly want to live, whilst the vast majority of people remain caught up in a perpetual loop of struggle and suffering. Now, the reality is that no matter who you are, you're going to have some struggles and challenges along the way. No one is exempt from that. However, struggling and suffering are two different things. Struggle simply means that you are having obstacles, you're facing challenges, you're experiencing adversity on the way to success. Suffering, on the other hand, is a perpetual cycle of remaining where you are and not being able to get out of it. Now, even though this may sound very simplistic, my observations tell me that people who continually suffer in life make one of three mistakes, which I'm going to talk about in this video, and I'd like you to start making your own observations to ascertain if this is true or not. The first issue that causes immense suffering for people is simply fear. So many people in the world live in perpetual fear. And they make their decisions from a place of fear rather than from a place of love. Think about this. Anyone that is excited about their future, anyone that is confident about themselves, is in love with themselves, is in love with their future, is in love with their life. The people who actually make decisions from fear are people who are not in love. They're in fear. The opposite of love is not hate. It's actually fear. And so many people live in fear. Fear of death, fear of poverty, fear of disease, fear of embarrassment, fear of failure, fear of criticism. And these fears that operate at the subconscious level stop people from going after their vision. They prevent people from setting big goals, and they prevent people from taking bold action. And as a consequence, as they continue to play small in life and they do not actively participate in the game of life, they end up causing so much suffering for themselves. The fear of poverty in itself creates poverty. Why? Because a person who has a fear of losing money is always going to be micro-focused on preserving money rather than growing money. But other fears as well, the fear of embarrassment and judgment stops so many people from playing big, taking risks, and going after what they want. Fear is a very strong emotion. It's primitive in nature, but it has the potential to stop us from growing. And people who don't grow, they stay in the same place and they never become aware of their thinking patterns. So what happens is they continue to make the same mistakes over and over again, resulting in a perpetual cycle of frustration. They can't get out of it, and this results in immense suffering for them. The second factor that results in immense suffering for people is ignorance. Now, we're all ignorant about something in life, but I'm talking about ignorant about truth and wisdom. So many people these days believe because they have academic or professional education that they know everything. But it's one thing to have access to data and information. It's another thing to have access to wisdom and insights. When we don't have wisdom and insights, we don't truly understand the principles that govern life, the principles that govern business, the principles that govern money, the principles that govern spirituality, so on and so forth, and we end up making terrible decisions. People are not even seeking the truth and wisdom anymore. They feel that as long as they have enough knowledge to be able to secure a job and make an income, that their job's done. Problem is, it's not. And you will see that so many people, despite their academic professional education, continue to suffer because they are devoiding themselves of the truth and wisdom that only comes from an understanding of principles and fundamentals. I've already mentioned so many times in my previous videos that so much of the truth and wisdom and insights that we need to become successful in life is simply not covered in the education system. All of my programs are now designed to enable people to understand and master themselves, understand and master business and financial fundamentals, and understand and master spiritual laws. I believe it's the integration of these three factors where an individual actually evolves from this perpetual cycle of suffering and is able to go to the next stage of their life, going from living by default to living by design, living competitively and living in fear to living creatively. I also feel that so many people, when they're in ignorance, it brings out their animalistic nature rather than their godly nature. All of us as human beings have the capability to be animalistic and instinctive. At the same time, all of us as human beings have the ability to be godly and intuitive. The more ignorant we are, the more we sever our connection with the intuitive intelligence. And because of that, we rely too much on our intellect and we end up making a lot of poor decisions, resulting in immense suffering. The third factor that I have identified according to my own observations that results in immense and perpetual suffering for people is not having a definite aim in life. So many people just get up in the morning and just go along to get along. They're happy to remain in survival. They have no destination. They're not even excited about their destination. They look around what everybody's doing and they live for the moment. There is nothing that brings out and unlocks the potential that they've got, because the only thing that can do that is a truly powerful vision. When we don't have a vision, we end up becoming a slave to our daily routine. And this is exactly how people live. If you really dig deep, you will find that the vast majority of people have no real plans for their future. They're not excited about their goals. They don't even have goals. How can people live without inspiration? Well, the word inspiration is derived from the word in spirit. So when you are not acting out of spirit because you're constantly living in fear and ignorance and you have no definite aim in life, you just react to whatever is happening. You are always going to be a victim of circumstance unless you have a bold and massive vision that may scare you a little bit, but also inspires and excites you. When we don't have a strong vision, when we don't have a definite purpose in life, when we don't have a clear destination in life, we end up becoming a slave to our daily routine, and that results in a life that is devoid of inspiration and energy, and that results in immense suffering as well. Although I completely appreciate that this topic is a lot more complex, but for the purpose of this exercise, I wanted to give you some simple indicators that you can go and evaluate and ascertain for yourself, are you making these three critical mistakes? If you're someone who has been stuck in a cycle of perpetual suffering, where you find that you are constantly dealing with the same problems. You see, the key is this: we all have problems, but are we having different problems and problems of a different magnitude? Or are we continuing to the same problem year after year, decade after decade? If that is happening to you, you are probably suffering. And I can absolutely assure you that the three reasons that I've mentioned are probably the reasons that is causing for you to remain where you are. Watch this video again and carefully reflect. Are you living in fear? Do you have significant ignorance? Are you even hungry for the truth? And do you have a clear and definite purpose in life? If you don't, you unfortunately are causing that suffering for yourself. Unless you awaken, unless you become aware, nothing's going to change. You see, things don't change unless we change. And that's the message in this video.